Hi, I'm Cari Ray, and I'm an ordinary Hoosier. I was born and raised in Park County, Indiana, and spent a lot of time running through the hills and hollers with my dog and my sister. I think our summers were, that was back when summers were still spent outside, and played a lot of music, sang a lot of music. I was a singer first. I sang my first song in church when I was 3. My dad played the guitar, and I sang Away in a Manger. I think it was Christmas time. And really, ever since then, I've always sort of known that music was my thing. Yes, by all accounts, I am a full-time musician. I'm playing every day, I'm gigging every week, and at the same time, I am part owner in a little retail shop here in Nashville, Indiana, where I live. It's called the Wild Olive. It's an olive oil and balsamic tasting room and store, and that really, I do some things for the store, but I'm not there day to day, running the store. And so that's been a nice way to that was the whole point of creating that business, actually, was for music. That sounds kind of odd maybe, but it was about creating a leverageable asset that didn't need me to be there every minute to help generate income, so that I could be a little more free to be about music. Maybe 7 or 8 years ago, I had a friend who looked me in the eye and said, "Hey, I'm starting this little music series every Thursday night at this little pub in Indianapolis, in Broad Ripple, in the wine cellar. And I think you need to work up, some stuff and come in and do a night. It's really low pressure and it's not a big deal. And you play for tips." Was a little nervous, but I worked up some covers and grabbed my original material and blew the dust off that and came up with a couple hours worth and put some boots on. And because that just seemed like the thing to do. I had a pair of cowboy boots I had gotten in Texas, and I thought, well, if there's been a time, now's the time. I'm a boot wearer. It just makes me feel like taller, tougher or something, swaggering around in boots. And I did that show, and I was nervous as heck, crazy nervous, but about 2/3 of the way through it, I fell hard for the whole thing all over again. It seems like sometimes people following their passion really hard makes some people really nervous or uncomfortable. And so, I experienced a little bit of that, and which I think is good because it makes you have to get real clear that you mean it. Because your little cheering section has kind of dwindled a bit, other than those who are really close to you. So you get to just, put your big girl pants on and go out there and do it anyway, because it's what you have to do. Or at least it's what I have to do. Of it or not. Obviously, I've been given whatever gifts I've been given to be able to play instruments and sing, and I have the voice that I have. But I think beyond that, I think there are a lot of people who have skill and talent in those areas. But then, for me, I think I'm also a storyteller at heart. And I think for me, music was a way to really share stories. And I wrote poems when I was a kid. I think I started writing poems when I was in about 7th grade. And I still have the book that they're all in. And I read back now, and those poems were really terrible poems. Really awful. But when I look at them with fresh eyes, they're not bad if you think of them like song lyrics. So I think even though I didn't realize I was writing songs then, at a pretty early age, I was trying to express myself sort of in rhyme. And I think I'm fascinated too by the idea of communicating and sharing ideas and stories in a particular format and in a short amount of time. There's something about that kind of turns me on, trying to sort of distill things down to the most common, simple denominator between us all in a way that maybe folks can relate. For me, I go ahead and kind of write out and sing out my own experience, my own lessons, my own struggles, my own triumphs, all of it. And then trust that, you know, it's not going to be too far out of a lot of other people's wheelhouse. And if one song isn't, then another song will be. So I just try to be as honest as I can possibly be, even when it hurts, especially when it hurts or is embarrassing or kind of I'm experiencing a little shame about something or embarrassment. I love to share that because I think being able to, again, allow yourself to have your experience, laugh a little bit about it, cry a little bit about it, and keep going is kind of what it's all about for me. The music feels like a safer way for me to be vulnerable. I've never been great at being vulnerable one-on-one with people, although I work on that. I still work on that. But there's something about revealing in that way that feels more okay to me or feels safer for some reason. I can't really explain why, it just does. So I think it's become my little outlet, you know, it's my little way that I can show you my soft little underbelly and then go put my hard candy shell back on, you know, when we get face to face, maybe, something like that. A day without music for me, whether it's listening to music or writing a song or playing guitar or sharing music with other people, is really kind of a day not worth having for me. And I can't think of the last day I had that didn't have music in it in some way. Mother of my childhood stares at me. Is that a wrinkle I see there? Time and again, when I get in the right setting where I can have a show, you know, sometimes I'll do a show and it feels like there's some separation, especially sometimes big shows where you're on a big stage and everybody's kind of far away or whatever. But shows like tonight where, you know, we'll have 50 or 60 people here and it's a really intimate setting, are my favorite shows because I sort of have it like we've all had dinner together and we're retiring to the parlor now to share stories and music and laugh a little and in this case, drink a little wine and whine about it. And I don't know, there's something that music helps facilitate. There's, you know, the connection I think between us is always there, but I think there's value in shining a light on it. And I love that. I love to get up here and feel like I'm fostering and facilitating connection between myself and the people in the room and among the people in the room whenever I have a chance. So, and I think music is a great way to do that. Kind of, I guess it's grease for the skids, as my granddad used to say a little bit. I'm doing this for a living, so that makes a difference too. And it's that becomes a struggle sometimes because, you know, if money were no object, I'd go play tiny little intimate shows forever. And tiny little intimate shows don't, only those kinds of shows don't always, you know, keep the larder full. So I try to mix it up, and then I try to think of different shows in different ways. So I get value out of many shows. Like I've done some national openers where you're in front of a couple thousand people and you're on a big stage and you've got the in-ear monitors going and you've got the band with that kind of wall of sound that you're creating, and that's fun in its own way. Because you're rocking and you feel like a rock star and people have their hands up and they're cheering and they're, you know, it's kind of, you know, that's really fun. But it doesn't have the same intimacy. I've been working really hard with bigger shows to continue to foster that. You just have to work harder at it, you know, and kind of put a lot more energy out. It just takes a lot more energy to create that same kind of connection in a bigger venue with a bigger crowd. But I keep trying. Keep trying. There'd be silver in my hair. Didn't count the days you called my name. For that. My favorite song is always the most recent one I've written. That's kind of how that works, because it's what's up for you right then, right? So I write it, and when I write it, I'm like, that's my favorite song. Most of the time. Some I write, and I'm like, you know, I needed to write that out, but usually my favorite song is one that's either the most recent one or a fairly recent one that I've written, for sure. Question is,
How did I get here?
The people who inspire me most, musically and non-musically, are people who have the guts to get up and tell the truth. Like, especially when it's hard. Just to let it rip. You know, and I'd love to say that I'm that person and I'm always that person, and I'm not. Except I will tell you that I am honest enough to tell you that sometimes I lie. Sometimes I lie. But I'd like to tell the truth all the time. Any final words? Final words would be, whatever you're having in your life, give yourself room to have it. I think that's it. And I don't say that from a place of someone who knows all about how to do that, and I'm trying to give somebody advice like that. I'm sharing with you that that's what I'm continuing to try to learn. And some days I do a little better than others, for sure. That's it. That's all I got.